Hello everyone, my name is Cheney Hu, and I am a Senior Solution Manager for Sangfor's Cloud Computing product. Today, I'd like to share with you Sangfor's vision on the future of infrastructure. And as we know we're living in a digital age, and everything is currently being changed by digital transformation. The most direct experience from our side is application, right? We are interacting with all kinds of application. And those applications, they are helping us to do our work, to improve the efficiency of our business operations. And applications are evolving all the time to serve business more quickly and more precisely. From 70s to 80s and 90s, the most typical application architecture we have seen on the industry is actually monolithic architecture. For monolithic architecture application, basically you are packaging everything into a single application. This application includes the UI, the user interface of your application, the business logic that you need to implement into that application, as well as your data access layer. So you need to access your data, and that data is actually stored in a database. So this is what we call a monolithic architecture. And it is easy to deploy because you only have one application that is sitting in a single instance. However, there are many drawbacks of this architecture. The first one is it's slow to roll out because everything is packaged into a single instance. So the developer team has to work closely, very hard with each other to make sure that everything is ready before it's shipped to production. And secondly, the drawback of this monolithic architecture is poor scalability. Because you have this single application, it's a monolith. If you need to scale up or scale down, you have to scale all of the components inside the application. Even though maybe I just need to scale out my business logic component, but in reality, you have to scale your user interface as well as your data access. So that will result in resource wastage. The third drawback of monolithic architecture is interdependency. Because these components inside that application, they communicate with each other to serve the application's functionality. So they are interdependent with each other. Let's say if one component of this application goes down, then the entire application has to be pulled offline to do maintenance and to debug. So that is not really efficient. And that is why, because of monolithic architecture has so many drawbacks, it's not a suitable form, a suitable architecture for applications to serve nowadays modern business. That is why service-oriented architecture came out during the early stage of 21st century. So with service-oriented architecture, we are seeing a lot of N-tier architecture, right? So you have, the web, the application, as well as the DB. And this is a typical 3-tier architecture and is built based around the services that are needed for this application to function. Let's say if I want to scale my application, then I can just scale my application accordingly, right? I do not need to scale my web as well as my DB based on the requirements. I can scale them independently. So in this way also, I have my teams who are responsible for the specific part of this service-oriented architecture. They do not need to, work so closely. They do not need to, they do not need to be bundled with each other on the application rollout. So we can deliver, quicker rollout, and it's more scalable. Than the monolithic architecture, because you are breaking the application down, and you can design your service for the application based on your needs. And these components, they can be scaled up and down individually instead of all at once. But still, this application, these components inside that application, that's still kind of monolithic. What we are seeing the most is, these applications are usually running as a VM, right? A virtual machine. They're gigabytes in size, and they are not as, lightweight and agile. And so, also, nowadays, infrastructure are evolving to be, more distributed. For this kind of service-oriented architecture or N-tier architecture, they're still running in a single place, a single location. That is not a really, really distributed architecture. So nowadays, as we are seeing, in our life and work, we are interfacing with mobile applications, with applications on the laptop and web applications. Those applications, they are actually being supported by microservices, especially your mobile applications. Quite possibly, they are being supported by the microservices that are running on the cloud or on the on-prem infrastructure to provide the service for your application. That is why microservice is becoming a very popular and very hot application architecture in the digital age. So with microservice, basically you are breaking the N-tier further into, more fine-grained microservices. So we are going to short it for MS. So you have a lot of microservices. These microservices, they are only responsible for their specific services. Those services all together provide your application's functionality for your business. And you can scale out these microservices individually to provide better scalability, and they can talk with each other via this API. And there are a lot of advantages that we can bring about on this microservice architecture. First, because it's being broken down into more fine-grained granularity. So you can scale out them very easily, and it basically facilitates higher productivity and agility for your developers. They are only responsible for a single part of the microservice of this application. So it's a lot agile and productive for them to develop new applications based on microservices. And the scalability is a lot better compared to monolithic and service-oriented N-tier architecture. And also, it's quite resilient. Because your applications have been broken down into these subcomponents, and those subcomponents, they are providing for their corresponding services. And they are not that really tightly integrated as the monolithic or service-oriented architecture. That is why, if let's say this microservice goes down, it only impacts its own service. Okay? The other services that are made up by the other microservices, they can still be run intact without any impact. So, from monolithic to service-oriented N-tier architecture to nowadays microservices architecture, we are seeing the evolution of modern applications. And those applications, they need to be run on infrastructure. So customers are urgently looking for an ultimate infrastructure platform that can support these three types of applications, because change doesn't happen overnight. We are going to see that monolithic, N-tier, and microservices-based applications are going to coexist in customers' data center. So that is why Sangfor came out with this vision. We're going to call this the future of our infrastructure platform, NG-CDI. And of course, it needs a hardware to be run on. The hardware usually is x86 commodity servers, just like our HCI, right? But unlike HCI, NG-CDI is more than virtualization. So, of course, you need an abstraction layer on top of the hardware to virtualize the resources on those servers. Let's call it NG-CDI OS. By the way, the NG-CDI stands for Next Generation Converged Digital Infrastructure, because it's supporting digital applications, not only a monolithic or three-tier service-oriented architecture. And of course, after this abstraction layer, you are able to provision compute resource, storage resource, and networking resource. You may say that this architecture is more or less like our HCI, but watch this. For the compute that is running on NG-CDI, it's not only about virtual machine. Okay, of course, virtual machine can be run on NG-CDI. It's also about container. Okay, the container is running on pod. And so NG-CDI integrates virtualization and the containerization. Okay, we can use the container runtime, containerd to provision containers for customers who need to run microservices. And for storage, it's not only about the block. It also contains object and file. So you are able to provision storage resources for applications of all kinds, no matter it needs block storage, object storage, or file-based storage. NG-CDI is able to support those requirements. And for the networking part, of course, the best of HCI is integrated, it's included on NG-CDI. You can deploy all those virtual security appliances like our firewall, our internet access gateway, as well as endpoint secure. You can also deploy all those virtual switches and virtual routers on top of the networking part. To manage all those resources, we are embedding Kubernetes with NG-CDI inside the NG-CDI operating system. So on top of those resources, what you need to use to manage and automate the operations on NG-CDI is actually Kubernetes. It's no longer KVM. It's no longer a Linux-based operating system that can give you the virtualization. It's all about containers and the platform as a service we're providing for your business. And of course, because Kubernetes is the de facto containers management and orchestration platform that is currently the most popular open source projects in the IT industry. And to provision those resources and manage those resources, we're helping you to run Kubernetes with all those available interfaces, APIs, like CRI, Container Runtime Interface, CSI, Container Storage Interface, and CNI. so that Kubernetes is able to work with those resources using the RICSI and CNI plugin and drivers to make sure that Kubernetes can understand the resources that are running on NG-CDI. And if you want to use NG-CDI to manage third-party platforms, you can do that because everything is about API on Kubernetes. So based on that, you're able to do a lot of things, right? You are able to provision container workload that are sitting on the pod. You can schedule them and automate the deployment of those containers. And of course, they can support auto-scaling because Kubernetes has that capability. And there will be monitoring and logging that is integrated on the NG-CDI to support VM workloads and container workloads. There will be alarming, that is unified alarming system, which is integrated on NG-CDI for your applications, for your VMs and pods. And you can also deploy other tools, like there will be CI/CD pipeline that you can leverage, your developers can leverage to develop and integrate, to support continuous integration and continuous delivery of your cloud-native applications. Furthermore, you can even do service mesh, so that if you have a lot of microservices running on NG-CDI, you are able to leverage the service mesh tool will provide for you, like Istio, to govern those services that are running. They need to talk with each other. The service mesh platform we provide on NG-CDI can do that for you. So with that said, you're able to do a lot of things, not only on the VM world, but also on the container world and the Kubernetes world. And if you want to talk with third-party public cloud, you can do that as well, because we can support that API for you, so that you can provision Kubernetes workloads on AWS, on Azure, on Google. Or you can deploy third-party data protection tools like Valero. So all that is made possible because we are provisioning this platform based on services, based on APIs. And this is the ultimate infrastructure platform for customers' business, no matter its present business or their business that is going to be developed in the future with cloud-native technologies. They are able to use this platform. This is a unified platform that can support container and virtual machines. And also it is simplified. We're giving you an easy-to-use user interface to manage those resources and manage those workloads. But if you are professional developers, you can also use Kubernetes command line to automate your management. The second value that this platform can deliver is business-centric. This is a business-centric infrastructure platform. No more do you need to manage your infrastructure based on VMs, based on those virtual resources. You are managing your business based on namespaces. That namespace could include your virtual machine and your container workloads that make up for your applications. So every decision you make on Sangfor NG-CDI is all about your business. And of course, it's resilient and secure. Thanks to our virtual security appliances and a lot of security capabilities we are going to include on NG-CDI, as well as this is a distributed architecture. All those features that are available I mean reliability and availability features that are made available on HCI will be kept, will be made available on NG-CDI. Next one, the last but not least benefit you can get from NG-CDI is, of course, it's cost efficient. You can start from 2 nodes and then gradually expand it according to your business workload. So with this platform made available in the future, we believe customer has an ultimate product, an ultimate infrastructure that can bridge their business of the past, that is based on virtual machines or physical machines, and their business for the future, which will be made and built on containers and Kubernetes. Okay, I hope this video is helpful for you to understand Sangfor's vision for the future of infrastructure. Thank you.